What's up? Peace, y'all. We're back with another interview for District 3 City Council. First interview for District 3, and this is an extremely important race. Probably the only person I would not be interviewing is our incumbent because we've got to seriously get her out of there. The amount of damage that current Oakland City Council member Carol Fife has caused this city has been just devastating. Her tenure has really, really taken Oakland to new lows, and I'm looking forward to getting some new leadership in this position. So, with no further ado, let's bring up Michelle Hailey, who is a candidate for Oakland City Council District 3. Hello, Michelle. Good afternoon.
Hello, Seneca. Thank you for having me today.
No problem. So, how has it been on the campaign trail?
Well, it's been, of course, I came in in the very late, so it's been just a uphill battle. But nonetheless, I'm here for it, and it's been interesting. It's had its highs and lows. I've gotten to know some of the other fellow candidates, which I find that are just amazing people, and I'm really proud that I'm proud of the candidates that are in this that are running to replace
Well,
our incumbent.
there's 6 candidates, correct?
Correct.
Including the incumbent? All
Hmm.
right. Well, I am also very gotten to know some of them a little bit more through the forums. And, I just keep feeling like when I attend these candidate forums that I need more information. And I need more information about policy. You
Yes,
know me, we all about that policy here on Gotham
absolutely,
Oakland.
absolutely.
After all the puppets and the jokes and the soggies, what we really talk about is policy and how policy can either lead to success in the city or, in the case of Oakland, on the road to bankruptcy and failure. So, our first question is name a policy passed in the last 8 years meant to address a legitimate issue that you disagreed with. What were the consequences of this policy and what would you have done differently? So, you, just to make sure everyone out here understands the question, including our candidate, you agree that there was a legitimate concern that there was something that needed to be done, but you don't like the solution that they had. What was this policy? How did it fail? What were the policy failures and what would you have done different? Please take 7 minutes for this question.
Okay, easily the eviction moratorium. The eviction moratorium was by far. We certainly were entering into uncharted territory. We had a pandemic. A lot of us didn't know what was going to be the outcome. It came in like gangbusters, and I think in good faith, as a small property owner, we all wanted to work together. I mean, we all look out for our tenants, and um, so even going into this, and it was the first 6 months, we were still okay with that because of the unknowns and what have you. However, as that policy was, as the not just the candidate, but the council president that instituted it and was very proud of how punitive it was, and that it was the strongest eviction moratorium in the country, and they hoped that it could be replicated in other places. One of the biggest issues that were always concerning, one being a small owner and being someone that's on a fixed income, and knowing lots of other small Black property owners, I knew that this could have really, really deep reaching, far reaching consequences. And because the ordinance was designed, it had no guardrails. The ordinance the ordinance was in such a manner that basically tenants could just say that they had a hardship and owners had to accept it. And here we were 3.5 years later, some living with people next to them that haven't paid rent in over 3 years. And I mean, the mental anguish and the instability that it caused was just absolutely devastating to the community. So that the eviction moratorium by far is something that I agreed that needed to happen, but the way it was constructed to destroy the community.
So, what would you have done differently to address the housing crisis um, during a once in a generation or more pandemic?
I don't agree. I do agree that the moratorium needed to occur. For one, I mean, but the length of time was absolutely not necessary. I mean, we didn't come out of ours. We even went further than the state. The state had ended the emergency, and Oakland was still in an emergency.
So, when did
Um,
the state end their eviction moratorium?
I believe the state was at least it was at least almost a year before we did, or eight. It was at least a year, or maybe 8 months. It was we were the longest. Oakland and one other place. We were absolutely the longest.
The
San Leandro.
longest in the country, I believe,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. hmm I mean, some never went down this path.
So,
Some
but
some.
okay, so you're a city council person.
hmm
You got, full blown pandemic, however you feel about it. Me personally,
hmm
I'm one of the pure bloods, as they call us. I didn't take the intervention, but I was a young, healthy person. I didn't feel that I needed to.
hmm
That may have been different if I had potential comorbidities or if I was an elder.
hmm
But COVID revisitation aside, and it was a very traumatic moment for many of us, elected officials were going through the same trauma. There's
hmm
humans too. So
Yeah.
you have the luxury right now of going back and saying what you will do different, and that's fine. But I still, with that luxury, what specifically would you have done to ensure that and if it's out of our control in the city, that's that's an acceptable answer. But what I'm looking for, what kind of eviction moratorium would you have just pushed for it ending earlier, and that would have been enough to satisfy the
No,
issues? What's
no.
that? So
The
what else differently would you have done?
the self certification, being able to certify your hardship without any type of verification, and the self certification was always a red herring. It was it was profoundly abused. It is still the lingering issue that is the cause and effect of many of these civil lawsuits, because we were stripped of the ability to even uh, receive to collect the rent, right? So being
Oh,
able to
so you can't collect back rent from money owed during COVID?
well, let me say this. Let me qualify it. You cannot evict for back rent that was owed through COVID, no matter how large. If the tenant re-engaged in the process, July, we ended it in July, so August, I guess, was the first rent payment due. If they paid their rent, started paying their rent, and let's say they owe, I know some owners where they have back rent owed to them in not 90 plus $1,000. But if they start paying their rent in August, that $90,000 you can never evict them for that,
Can
because
you
it,
take them to small claims court for it?
you can take them to small claims court, but then there's limits on how much you can actually sue for in small claims court. So you might end up having to do, like, if it's 90, you end up having to do several small lawsuits. Then you end up basically with the with the time running out in terms of how long you can keep these cases open. So
So how much is that? How much is the limit that you can sue for?
the limit, I believe it was raised. I and that's really it leaves me, but I believe it was raised, and I can double check, but I believe um, it was raised to 20,000, twenty
Just
thousand.
20,000. So not
Yeah,
even 1 year's worth of rent for the
no,
average.
because you
Very
can
interesting. And does it go in your credit rating?
only, right now it does, but there are several senators that are working to write ordinances where it can't, where you can know if it was uh, debt due to the moratorium, that you cannot put it on the person's credit. And then another senator out of San Jose is even working to cap, if they owed you 90, he just wants you, just cap it at 10. So it's pretty egregious in terms of just the the mental abuse that owners endured from, and I think it put also tenants in very bad position because they gave them a false sense, because those who abused it, or even those who didn't understand, such as a lot of our income burdened tenants that are maybe in HUD, they were some of the biggest folks that were hurt because they didn't really quite understand that the rent, um, the the ability for you to pay your rent, it didn't go away. You still were supposed to, but if you said you had a hardship,
Absolutely, absolutely.
right?
And you know what? That brings me. That was 7 minutes plus there, but I talk a little bit, so I'll give you a little longer to wrap that up. But I wanted to say something before the next question.
Sure.
I was also, I think I met you organizing to help end the eviction moratorium last
Yes.
spring.
Yes.
And one of the things that I noticed being a renter is that I agree with the point you just made, and I think it's a very astute and needed point, is that the moral hazard that was created by this sloppy policy that I
Mhm,
think had more sinister intention, but that's another conversation.
mhm,
It created, it was very, it gave a credit card to people who were working poor. And the best way I can put this succinctly to move on to the next question is if I'm working poor and I'm choosing between, I'm juggling bills like many people are right now in Oakland and across America. And rent is a third or more of my income because you
mhm,
have to qualify, you have to be a third. That's a
mhm,
big chunk. Not having to pay that actually put me in a different social economic status. And now I'm no longer working poor. I'm middle class. That amount of disposable income was
mhm,
life changing to many people. Also, you change your habits. You change your spending habits, and you start becoming accustomed to not being in abject poverty. Who willingly wants to go back to being impoverished? So then,
sure,
of course, they're going to take every opportunity. They're desperate at this point, and in comes the predators who used this to enrich themselves, like Larasa, who went from just getting maybe $2 million in gross revenue per year prior to COVID to being at over $120 million in gross revenue in the
mhm,
year 2023. I'm gonna
mhm.
wrap it up there because I'm doing a whole episode about that. But the next question, and a big one, and I sent it to you beforehand. So I want to hear your thoughts on it because this is a
Okay,
little technical.
okay,
Section 218 of the city charter restricts council members from interfering in administrative affairs. How did this law affect your ability to deliver on your campaign promises? And it's not added here because I couldn't fit it. How did you plan to work with the mayor and city administrator to be effective?
okay. If I could just, it's
For, I'm sorry, 7 minutes.
7 minutes. Okay, I can. If I could just also punctuate that the uh, tenants that were in HUD approved properties really got hurt the most because they actually, even if they claimed a hardship, they were able to have their income verified. And so they have been actually the most evicted. The poorest people have actually been hurt the most from the moratorium. So I just
Mm.
wanted to say that because it's
Shane,
really,
thank you. Thank you for that contact. It was well
yeah.
worth the additional time, but I'm going to
Okay.
subtract it from this time. So you got
Okay.
6 minutes and 30 seconds to
Okay.
answer section. It should be plenty for section 218.
Yes, it is. So while the law might restrict the council members, it doesn't restrict the city manager. And it is incumbent between the council and the mayor and the city administrator to have a symbiotic relationship. What we have witnessed for I would say probably the last 10 or plus years, maybe even longer, is just a complete dysfunctional and really tribal so, uh, relationships on the council. I mean, you can see the visceral dislike that they have for each other, and so a lot of the this a lot of the work for the city is not getting done simply because people don't like each other, and they can't put their personal issues aside and get the work done for the people, and that is the conflicts. And I think ushering out some of this. these, good, bad, or indifferent. Some of a lot of candidates are not coming back. So we that in itself is already a heavy lift. That it is, no matter what, this council is going to look different, and it's been a completely toxic environment. So once we have a new council, and in particular, if I'm elected, one of the things that I would, and I've constantly said, is that the city needs to be audited. The departments need to be audited. You cannot know where you're going if you can't figure out where you've been.
Audited financially for the expenditures,
Uh, Expenditures
or
and
correspondence audit, or what type of audit?
correspondence audit. I think actuaries can be brought in to see if there's duplicative efforts. We need to analyze if these departments are working, looking at them from a revenue standpoint. I mean, are we paying out for departments? I know from being on the service end of the city, okay, that we're not receiving any services. You call most
You mean
departments,
District 3, you mean?
District 3, but I don't. District 3, I think probably the entire city. The city is not receiving services. You can't pick up the phone and get a department on the phone. You can't. City revenues are down. Nothing is functioning. Permits take forever. So we 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 have to have some. I would want to, with the city manager, implement whether it was a commission or us as a council or a task force, to start looking at these departments and seeing where we could maybe reinvigorate them, because some of them are hangovers from the past. We're in a whole new world right now, and we're still conducting business in the city of Oakland as if we were 8-track tape player, you know, and just simply not
Okay, so you have a little about over 3 minutes left. So I have a question in the questionnaire. You mentioned auditing departments. What does that process look like? What department in Oakland needs to work together in order to conduct an efficient audit?
what departments need to work together.
Yes, in Oakland, like if how does that look to audit a department? Who's in charge of that process, and what role do you have as a city council member?
Well, right now we do really have a great new auditor that has come in. He is severely understaffed. I think
The
we have
city auditor's department is understaffed.
yes, 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 he is. And last time, I think in the budget, it was even money being cut from his department. Um, so we have the right leader. The Mike, I believe is Michael. We have a good leader in the audit department. I mean, that department needs to be expanded in a very effective way, because even though it might cost more some in the short run, what he might be able to do and find in terms of waste, and maybe departments that are just antiquated, that may need to be automated. I mean, we're not utilizing AI. We just need to step into the new world that we're living in.
So given that the auditor has a big role and you're precluded for Section 218 from working directly with the city auditor's department, what role does city council have, and what is the flow chart, if you will, for affecting change via policy, or is there a policy or some type of legislation that you could author? What does it look like for you to push that agenda to audit the department besides the bully pulpit along?
When when asked this question, the first thing that I thought of is that we it would be it would be very, very effective to come up with, as a council person, a process where, whether it was monthly or on a quarterly basis, that we developed a semi audit. Just, it could be even a basic questionnaire for departments to fill out on a 60-90 day basis, but it would have to work through the city administrator's office, because that's
Who
who
you can work with?
I can work with. right.
Yes.
And so all of this magic has to happen between the city administrator and the mayor, and we first have to have um, just an environment where everyone agrees that the residents come first, and all of these personalities and conflicts. I mean, we've had a long time, and even prior to this mayor, we've had a long time of really severe personal conflicts that have not allowed people to work together. We have right now sitting in the council, and by default, some districts just simply have had no representation. Their members are not allowed. They have the votes, and their members are not allowed to even. They just sit there, and I mean, Gallo is. I mean, he's practically working for waste management because he can't. I mean, he has no voice right now in the council because they have a small group, or some people call it the squad, but a small group of people that are of like mind and have decided these others are not. So, um, yeah, we just
That leads nicely into the next question, which you can
okay,
choose to keep on the same topic or adjust it slightly, but I'll
okay,
deliver it first. Oakland is in a crisis. What would be your area of focus? And how do you plan to use your vote to help reform Oakland? Please take 4 minutes.
okay. Um, my focus, and this might seem a little bit lofty, but it's an Oakland that works for everyone. It is there are too many examples in my community alone where the change the changes that take place have become so punitive to the to our community, and it it's done in the guise that it's for the greater good of the city. But
Mm.
at what point are we put back together or compensated? We have lost historical venues, family businesses. So, for instance, I mean, in West Oakland, 7th Street, 7th Street got decimated because of the need for the BART station. And 7th Street was the Harlem of Oakland. And so I want to really concentrate and focus on those who are not really tethered to this whole process and they're not on the internet, seniors that are not tethered to knowing what's going on. We have to develop, I want to develop more ways to communicate with the residents of Oakland what's actually happening and have a more collaborative process. I have ideas on how that could work. Can't go into all of them now, of course, but the that would be the biggest piece that I would work on. Secondly, um, this process here in this election has really brought to light how broken this we don't have an election system. The idea that we're choosing mayors and or council members that are making such serious decisions for the health and welfare of the city is through a few small random forums, and that sometimes people don't get invited to because of the hierarchy or who likes. I mean, if they're kind of not don't have the ideological bend, or if you don't have the fundraising. And we're supposed to be a diverse bastion of democracy here, and we have situations where candidates are not even allowed to participate because they are not crossing certain bars. Um, we need a centralized election apparatus where there's real, actual debate in front of the citizens of Oakland. They shouldn't go looking for forums to try to find out what the people running in office want to do. It should be coming to them. And it seems as though this leadership has really steeped themselves in hiding the process. So then what happens is you find yourself that most people are only getting their information when they get bombarded in the last few weeks with mailers and commercials. That is no
Mhm.
way to run it. That's no way to run a city. And if this is going and regardless to the outcome of this race, this is something that I am definitely passionate about and going to work on. And in addition, of course, to uh, more voter outreach in our community. I've worked in prior campaigns. Excuse me, my eyes. I worked on prior campaigns, and consultants' first thing they say is that poor folks, Black folks, for instance, they don't vote.
Mm.
And it's and the numbers seem to bear out that that does happen. But if you ignore a community long enough, you will get the outcome that you desire, you know? And so we have to re-engage our people and the communities, because these communities such as 3, 6, and 7, they need to be uplifted the most. So
Absolutely. That
we
is
have
the timer there, so I don't have to
okay,
cut you off. But
that's
you're in luck because you have 2 final minutes to give your large stump speech. I don't know why I'm getting balloons right here, or like the peace sign. When I do the peace sign, I get balloons. But 2 minutes on the clock. Why
okay.
should District 3 vote for you and not one of the other 6 people who are currently running for this position? And go.
To all the residents of Oakland and District 3 in particular, I was the reluctant candidate, but now that I'm in this race, I really feel so passionate about restoring this gem and this diamond that gave me so much. I was fortunate to have been a child of the wonderful time of music and artistry that gave birth to such a wonderful tapestry, such as the Black Panthers. But we actually recorded the first Destiny's Child's album. That mighty, beautiful voice of freedom that everybody enjoys, such as Beyonce, she actually did her first album here. And likewise, I thought about it, and so did Alicia Keys. We were, and we have so much rich talent, and we have to reinvigorate our downtown. And I'm the person to do that. I want to reinvest deeply into the cultural arts that made this place the wonderful place that it is. People come to Oakland. They may not know why, but they come because it has a heartbeat. It's got a drum beat. It it talks to you even when you don't know it's there, because that's what Oakland. And I said in a forum, I said Oakland is the world's 808. And some of us from the way back know a little something about that. And so I want to bring back that passion. I want to bring, and by doing so, my first project would be to return back to the Oscar Michaud Black Filmmakers Award. That way we could uh, bring a major event back to the Paramount, and then let's rebuild around the Paramount. We need to give people a reason to come here. We need to give people a reason to get dressed in their best Sunday best and put this place in a light that would shine and give it back its glory that it so deserves. I think if folks, people want to come back. We have so much, we have so much rich history and so much to give. And I want to give my all to the city, and vote for me because this is all I am about. Oakland is in my DNA. My DNA is Oakland. I will always be committed to making the right decisions for the city and not to further my career.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michelle, for
Thank
coming on
you.
the show.
Thank you.
I
And
do
actually,
appreciate your
Hashi was
thoughtful
one
answers.
of my okay.
I
I should
know our audience will appreciate your thoughtful answers. I'm almost sad I didn't hear your big guard dog come swooping in barking. I guess you put him up, but I was
no, he's right.
hoping he's right next to you.
Yeah, he's right here. That's what I was
Oh,
gonna
let
say.
me see. You got it. He's doing good. Good
He's
boy.
doing
All
good. I
right.
know.
All
I'm
right.
totally stunned. Usually, he also would be up on the bed, but he's doing really good. This is amazing.
Well, you got to have a big scary guard dog these days when
Yeah,
you live in the hood in Oakland. If you don't have an air horn or a rape
yeah,
whistle,
yeah,
um, like they told us
yeah.
with
But
the
God,
Love Life rape whistle campaign with air
oh
horns.
yeah, we gotta get one of those, huh?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But anyway, all jokes aside, I do appreciate you coming on. Good luck on the campaign trail. I think
Thank you so much.
49 or 50 days left, and
Thank you.
ballots hit doors in I think 3 weeks. So best of luck and
Everyone,
peace.
check your registration. Make sure you're registered to vote. Know where you're if you're voting in person, where your precinct is, and everybody, good luck. Vote for Oakland like your life depends on it, because it does.
It absolutely does. Thank you,
Okay.
Michelle. I'll see
All
you
right.
in the back in a waiting room area.
Okay. Thank you.
All
So
right, y'all.
take care. Bye bye.